Greetings, earthlings. I'm just sitting here cracking up. I have been very much in my own world, like recently, especially for the past couple months, I think. But and in a good way, I kind of made myself do it, right? Because I was getting really busy on the outside and the inside was suffering. Um, So I'm sitting here laughing because I'm waiting for Zeke to get home from work, and I'm headed to Texas tonight. And my flight is at 8:45. Denver airport's like an hour 45 minutes closer to 2 hours away. And anyway, when I was driving on I-70 earlier, there was like traffic was way backed up. I looked up on the online and anyway, long story short, I'm super freaked out about being late, okay, and missing my flight. So then I was looking at the chart for today, and I'm like, fuck, Mercury is retrograde. It's the first day of Mercury retrograde. And here's my thing. I'm super reasonable about Mercury retrogrades because they happen three, sometimes four times a year, and they're 3 weeks. Um, and so I'm kind of mindful of it, but I don't necessarily like change my life around it. I mean, sometimes if things aren't going to work out, or they have to go under review, it's for the better. So I sort of look at it like that. Like I still like, I just do life. You know what I mean? Um, I read I mean I started really digging into like the aspects of astrology, not just like, oh, my sun, moon rising, which is cool too if you know like about the signs and stuff. I'm not like downplaying that, but I wanted to get into reading um birth chart, like my birth chart, so I could figure out why my life was so fucked up, right? I was looking for like something to point the finger at. And I mean, I don't think it was a sudden aha or anything, but it was kind of like, oh my gosh, like this chart is about me. How do I want to say this? This chart is about me, and I'm the one like fucking up my life. Astrology did make it cool because there was stuff like I have Jupiter conjunct Chiron in the 12th house, right? And the 12th house is the house of self sabotage. I mean, among other things, well, self sabotage, but it can also be spirituality. It's about escape and feeling like connected to one and everything, which, like, let's face it, I mean, when I drank, I was more social. Like now I'm super fucking awkward and I'm okay with it. But um, that's what the 12th house is about. Well, the Jupiter expands things, it blows them up, right? And Chiron is like they call it the wounded healer, but it's like our insecurities and all of that. So with Jupiter expanding my insecurities in the house of like self undoing, it's like, wah, you know what I mean? Like, wah. I mean, I like really went big on in the wah department. So when I looked at my chart, I mean, in this, there was a ton of stuff. Anyway, I'm getting somewhere in my own time and yours, I guess, if you're voluntarily sticking around for this. But so when I looked at it, I was like, well, like Jupiter is also knowledge. It's expansion and expanding your mind, expanding what you know, expanding your beliefs, expanding the reach that you have in the world. So, and then Chiron is the wounded healer. So when I, consciously use this like aloneness or um, this wanting to kind of escape, I escaped into spirit. And then I share my experience, which is kind of how I utilize Jupiter to do it. And that, began in the 12 step program, where, like at meetings and stuff, I would share my story. And really, anytime somebody wants to get sober or anything like that, I'm always, always, always happy to encourage and share my experience, strength, and hope in that area. Anyway, but I started getting really into astrology because I wanted to get into my chart and figure out what, like, my life. And then the more that I started learning about it, um, the more that I really started to go inside and figure things out. Um, and the more I learned and the more I started kind of like reading charts for other people and stuff, the less that I use astrology on me. It's really weird. And I mean, I pull cards sometimes, but I'm definitely not obsessive about it. And it's kind of funny, like, when I was first learning, I would pull like cards every day. And when I was first learning when I was 18, and then when I picked it back up again, just to kind of refresh my memory. But now, I don't do readings for myself. And there's like a veil also where Alan Watts says, you know what? I'm going to look it up because it feels pretty important. Hold on, I'm going to pause this. You won't even notice. Yes. The Godhead is never an object of its own knowledge. And that's Alan Watts. And this is why they say, whoever they is, but that God or the universe, or however you want to call it, the divine spirit, created humans so that it could experience itself, right? And that's what we're doing, is we're here having human experiences and getting to know each other so we can go back and share that, right? But the Godhead does not wait is never an object of its own knowledge. So it's also really hard for me I can't read my own cards, and I can get insight with my chart, but like, I love to have readings by another astrologer, which I have done, because it's easier for someone to look from the outside almost, and when I want a card reading, I have people that do readings for me. Anyway, where was I going with this? So I've been exploring myself. And the Mercury retrograde. So I think it's kind of funny because I know I've heard people object to astrology and be like, well, it's not a map or anything like that. And it's really not, but sometimes it sure can be like a darn good like compass, or like key, is that what you call it? Like the key chart or whatever, where, when I saw that one alignment of Jupiter conjunct Chiron in the 12th house, it was when I was about a year sober. And that's when I really, it kind of sunk in for me, the lower expression of what I was doing, escaping into alcohol, and feeling sorry for myself, basically, and how I could utilize the energy and themes of those planets and that house to turn it around and redirect that energy. Um, so long story short, we're in a Mercury retrograde, and I don't freak out about those, even though this one is. I'll have to give you an update if I make it on time. But this one is actually fucking with me, like, personally, so it should be a pretty interesting. Mercury is in retrograde, squaring Pluto. And this is why I think I've been so introspective, and I'm having really profound realizations. And I'm going to share one with you so you can kind of get an idea. These are the kinds of things that might come up for you, but just like really, really deep insights. So I wrote on my blog about going on a hike with my friend Susan. And I sent the blog link to her so that she could read it or whatever. And it's just a funny story. You could, I don't know, maybe I'll connect to it below. But we were on a hike, and we encountered or were encountered by a couple of moose. It was fucking scary. And in the story I wrote that we were on a slight incline. And she texted me and said, I really love the story. I'm sharing it with some of my friends. And by the way, the only thing that would make me happier is if you would put a steep incline, because that was a steep incline. And it was like, it brought tears to my eyes because I have always loved writing. And the thing with writing is that, sometimes, especially if you want to make it interesting, authors, I'll call myself an author, why not? Authoring a blog, but you have a little bit of license to make the story interesting and like spice it up a little bit. But I have been one of the things that I've been accused of is lying. Um, and I don't like to lie, and I've also had an experience, I'm being really careful here, where um I came to doubt my own reality. Um, you live in your own world. You don't see things as they really are. And when you're in a situation like that long enough where that's what you're being told, I started to really think that I was crazy. It's so fucking disconcerting. I mean, like it's I mean, ultimately that's what unraveled me. And there were even a couple of times where literally a situation that was right in front of me, that I thought I saw clearly, I was told I was not remembering them correctly. It's so weird, guys, but anyway, when Susan sent me that text that it was a steep incline, and I'm still, this is going to be the second video where like I'm feeling teary because I don't ever, if anything, I under exaggerate, because I'm afraid of being accused of lying, or exaggerating. And I told Susan that. I just wrote her back and I was like, wow, you have no idea what that little comment means. Or it was, this is not, see, listen, this is not word for word. I mean, obviously I would think you guys would know that, but I always have to qualify, like, and I said, because I'm always afraid of being accused of exaggerating or not remembering things carefully. So I waste a lot of fucking mental energy on what I say and how I say it and if I'm saying it accurately. And there's something to be said, like, for I have a right to my subjective experience of things. You know what I mean? And this comes with arguments and stuff. Like, I'm really non-confrontational. And I know the ins and outs of a lot of fucking shit, but I don't ever argue with anybody about it. In fact, when I was a kid, my dad um, wanted me to be good at debating. And so even if there was something that he and I agreed on, and I would start talking about it, he would always argue with me and he would always play devil's advocate. And he'd be, because I want you to, be a good debater and know both sides. And ultimately kind of what it did is it made me gun shy. I don't like to argue or debate. I guess I've gone through phases where I've done that in my life. Usually when my internal life sucked, then I was really arguing on the outside. It's funny how that works. But God, this will give me longer than I want it to be. But anyway, Susan basically wrote back and she said, you own your truth. Like, you see what you see. And it was just really profound. And it made me think of other times that I do that, like as far as I had one in my mind. If I think of it, I'll say it. But there's just some try to be really try to look at the way that you think. Like that's what Pluto wants us to do, is the subconscious. I know a lot of old habits that I have, but until Susan said that, and I've been really mindful about paying attention to what I say, and what I'm thinking and my response, specifically for the past week. This one, I'd forgotten about it, and and it's a big one because when I really think about it, I just waste a lot of energy. I know what it was. There was a situation where somebody said, okay, tell so and so we'll be there this day. Okay. And we'll meet up with them and do that. And I didn't think anything of it. And I went to so and said, we're going to be there this day, whatever. And then over here, they're like, oh, you know what? We can't make it that day. So get in touch with some, whatever. Should somebody have been putting me in the middle? It was not a big deal, but I freaked out. And I was like, because I felt like I had been put in a situation where I lied. You know what I mean? Like, it turns out we're not going to be there. And that was a trigger for me. And, I don't care like to share my life with you. I kind of wish I had a normal life, that wasn't worth sharing. Like, I could be like whatever. I don't know. I could just post pictures on Facebook and have normal people problems. Not saying that normal people problems are hard, but I hope you know what I mean. I'm not sharing this because I'm the important factor here. I'm sharing it because you are the important factor here. Like, what goes on in your mind? Do you pay attention to you? And it doesn't, like, we make fun of people when people are introspective or thinking about themselves. And if and it's called navel gazing, you know what I mean? Or being like, I don't know, self-interested. And if you're going around bragging about yourself, that's not like you. But being introspective about you and your thoughts and why you think the way you do and why you believe the way you do, is just really fucking important. And this whole Mercury retrograde, which is going to be until like October 18th, it's in Libra, in Western astrology. So it'll be colored by relationships and stuff, but it's really about your mind. And Pluto is rebirth, like really just getting rid of things that don't need to be there. We also have the sun is coming up on Mars, and then we have those two together are making a good aspect, a trine to Saturn. And then in turn, there is a trine to the North Node. So if you're unfamiliar with astrology, what that means is there's a grand trine in the air signs right now. And it's like the North Node, it means what, like our focus point, like where we're learning and growing and heading. Saturn is tough lessons, but it's also self-discipline, and the discipline to move forward. Mars is our warrior energy, and it's meeting up with the sun, which is our heart. And that's going to be going on for the next few days. So we may be having some mind struggles, but at the same time, as far as like momentum and moving forward, there's really good energy for that. So it's like, move towards what you want this week. And I do want to try to do another video, but move towards what you want because there's great support for that. But make sure that you're introspective, because it's like we can see Pluto, if we're unconscious about it, we can see our subconscious thoughts out in the world and just like try to hit them out there, but that's like whack-a-mole, you know what I mean? We really want to get to it inside. That's why they're popping up in our outside experience. So whenever you are like, like just triggered, work with that and be like, ooh, what was that about? I wonder where that came from. Did it come from the time I was like 5 and I got pissed off at, my parents, and or I felt really scared, or I felt really hurt, and just and there can be a lot of learning and growth, especially with retrograde, because the retrograde is in exploring our like internally, Anyway, wish me luck on my flight tonight. And I'll be seeing more of you this week. I hope you have a great night on Earth. Peace. Namaste.